You're live.
All right, now you're
That says maybe I clicked off of it too fast. All right.
Are we still good? Are we starting over or are we?
We're starting over.
All right. Take two.
Take two. We've been talking over here, and in theory, we thought we were streaming, but we weren't. So just a little repeat. Hunter, you had some brilliant wisdom.
Yes.
I think you had a quote maybe by Hunter Connolly of Think and Grow Rich.
Yes. Our only limitations are those we set up in our own minds. I did way better the first time.
That was good. Y'all missed it. Sorry. But anyway, but Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, he wrote that book. I mean, that was like
40s? I don't know.
Yeah,
a long time
30s, 40s, maybe the 20s. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But an oldie but a goodie. If y'all haven't read that book, check it out.
That on the comments.
It's a good one. Somebody Google it. What are you grateful for today?
So I was just mentioning kids going back to school tomorrow, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, I mean, they're definitely going tomorrow. Hopefully they'll get to stay there for the whole year.
So some of our ages y'all might be homeschooling your kids right now, watching this, and then teaching a lesson plan at the same time. So obviously there's a lot going on. We're going to be juggling a lot over the next few months. But we've got a few programs that we're going to talk about today that to help you be more effective and more efficient. So
we talk about routines being good for us as professionals, and I think it's the same thing for kids. Get them.
But routines can be good if your kids are being taken care of by someone else. That's where routines really help.
Really.
It's hard to manage your own routine and your kids, so understandable. But so that's good. So I'm grateful for that as well. So some education updates. We've got Teddy Pins is going to talk about some education stuff. So I'll let him let you hear what he has to say. Oh, he's dancing.
You know who's back? I got a little Dre in the background. It's Teddy Pins here with the Village Education Update for the week. It's Tuesday, August 11th, and today I am going to be teaching a class called Nailing the Final Steps. Final walkthroughs, what to check, prepping the client for that. The week leading up to closing, the closing table skills, and how to be a hero and attract referrals. That is today at 10:30 after the sales meeting. Tomorrow, Wednesday, our weekly Thrive chat. That's on a great chance to reflect, connect, and set. If you haven't been, please join us. We do a little breathing exercise. We talk about hot topics and tales from the trenches. Next week, Tuesday, we're going to be doing a possible clear cooperation class, but I've emailed you the tips on all that. And then Wednesday, next Thrive. And then Thursday, C2EX, professional development certifications through NAR. So all this is on your email. It is also in the Village calendar. It is also on the Village Facebook exclusive. And I'd encourage you to use that as a great way to share and chat with each other. So appreciate you. Oh, you want the tech tip? The tech tips on passwords this week. Passwords. People that can't remember their passwords or they're saving them in a note. Two things. You can use the Mac Keychain. Mac Keychain. So if you can Google that if you want to learn about Keychain. I also use a program called 1Password, the number 1Password. That syncs across to all your devices, entirely secure. Keep your credit cards and all your passwords in there. And it auto-populates when searching new sites. So huge efficiency helps. So there you go. There's Teddy's hacks, Teddy tips for the week. Peace.
Wow, he gets more into it every week.
Did you notice some of the photos and stuff?
Oh, he's got a whole setup. It's great.
Solid.
That's great.
Including
So
the big fat head of Teddy himself.
oh, great. So so headshots. We're going to do headshots tomorrow.
Do you use password helper, or do you do the old?
Oh, I just keep them on my notes. Totally secure. No, I don't actually. If anyone's watching, don't hack into my phone. But no, I do. I try to change them fairly frequently. But the fingerprint thing is great.
Do you use the suggested password?
No, that scares me. It's so long.
It's so long.
I just always, I want to trust. I want to trust that they know what they're doing. But I don't know. So
sorry. You were saying
headshots tomorrow. So we're going to do, if you have not gotten a headshot, you need a headshot, you need an updated headshot. If you're still using one from 17 years ago, I don't think it was doing that, but you see agents out there do that. Go get a new headshot tomorrow. Rachel sent out a link. I think it was Rachel sent out a link. So look in your inbox for that. And
it's not too late, and they don't take long, and it does help on our website to kind of have some more uniformity and kind of that. Right? Don't you think? Branding-wise, consistency?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So make sure you do that. Locations and directions and time slots are available in that email from Rachel.
All right.
We're diving right in.
Already. All right, here we go. A lot to cover. Great week to be in real estate. I need the next slide, Zach. All right, so the markets continue to kind of astound. This last week was super strong. They just keep going up despite the bad news and the bad economic data that's being released. Just defying logic. I thought there's no way we would be back to this point. You can see the S&P is up almost 4% on the year, and I think after yesterday it went up even higher. So these were as of the weekend numbers. So after yesterday, I think we're over 4%. So word of caution on that. Remember the S&P is the 500 largest companies in our economy, but it's weighted towards the largest companies. And so what's happened is the largest companies in Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, those represent like 30% of this overall index. And so there is a lot of risk should any of those highly weighted companies falter, that the markets could drop and go down a good deal. So
I never knew that until you said that last week.
Yeah, so if you looked at the just kind of an equal weighted S&P 500 where you didn't have this skewing towards the larger names, that index would actually be down 5%. So the large companies are really doing well, while the overall S&P 500, which are still like made up of large companies, 500 largest are struggling. So just worth keeping in mind. Next slide. Remember we talked last week about homes and homes being Americans' favorite investment for 7 years running. I want to talk a little bit why Brian Adams, who's a local institutional investor, got to know him a little bit, but he explains why the stock market and housing markets are so strong and why he favors real estate moving ahead. So I thought this was interesting. There's only a few things, Zach, you can do with your money, right? You got some savings, you're going to do something with it. The first one is you can hold it in cash, right? So if you hold it in cash and don't do anything, well, the US dollar, the value of the dollar is actually down 9% from March. It's kind of hard to believe, right? And so you're actually like losing money just by holding money.
The old mattress trick.
Yeah.
Not a good plan.
It's like inflation, and as the Fed, all the stimulus money, the Fed's kind of just printing more money, and so the dollar has lost 9% from its March high, and is on track this month for its worst month since 2011. So that's not a great idea to invest your money in just cash. You can put it in the stock market, but we just talked about some of the risks there. It's kind of despite a lot of bad news. It's up. It's kind of dominated by a lot of the indexes are dominated by big tech companies that are defying reality. Another option is fixed income or bonds, and but if you look at the yields on those, it's kind of like cash. You're getting when you factor in inflation, you're actually getting a negative return on your money to hold bonds. So not a lot of return there. You could buy gold. Gold's up 35% on the year, and so it's pushed past 2,000 per ounce. Has kind of been this psychological barrier for a long time with gold. We're past that. Gold has no real utility other than like jewelry, I guess. But so that doesn't feel like a great investment, and it's already up 35% on the year. So anyway, it kind of leaves us with buying a home or an investment property. Your total return on most investments are your capital gains plus any income. With stocks and bonds, I mean that's kind of your only return. Your house has actually a lot more intangible returns that you can get from owning your house.
And you can decorate it.
You can decorate, make it your own.
Paint it.
So that's part of what's driving the kind of healthy real estate market nationally, but then also in Nashville. And last week, the Wall Street Journal came out with an article kind of highlighting this. And since the pandemic, the use of your house has expanded from, just shelter to a place where it can double as your office. A lot of people working from home. In fact, so typically, did you know 24% of your, you can go back to this, that last slide. 24% of workforce works from home. And because of the pandemic now, 31% more than that. So that's like over 50% of the workforce. Wow. And now they'll go back to the office eventually when the pandemic's over, but a lot of reports are saying that they'll probably work remotely at least some of the time more. The people have reported being more efficient. They discovered they're happier. They can save money on commuting time and expense, employer office space maybe, and so. And also, interestingly, the ability to work from home and have a house where you can work from home well can expand the range of jobs available as a worker. So you can work remotely. You don't have to, work for a company that's in your hometown or in where you live. You can work for many other places, give you a wider range of jobs, could result in higher pay and more workplace happiness. So having a place, having a home where you can do a lot of that is important. We talked about schools being closed. A lot of people are, their home is now doubling as a school, and so that's something that is can't really monetize, but it's certainly a benefit of having a home. So this Wall Street Journal article, go to the next slide. It focused on millennials and kind of their response to the pandemic and housing. Are you a millennial, Zach?
I'm not. My wife is.
You're right on the edge of being the oldest.
I'm January '79.
You don't look like a millennial. You look more like
an old fart. Yeah.
Millennials get a bad rap. I love them.
I try to look young.
They're great. Yeah. But anyway, a millennial, Darren Laframboise, is highlighted in this article. And he used to think of a house as a liability. So what he and his fiance would do, they rented in San Francisco. They loved being able to walk to the movie theater, go for a run in the park, and eat out whenever they wanted. And all their extra money that they saved by not, investing in a house, they put into the stock market. And but all that changed, when COVID hit. All of a sudden, they're both working from home. He's a product manager for a tech company. She's a legal analyst. They're kind of stepping on each other, trying to avoid each other's phone calls. The living room becomes a gym. The kitchen all of a sudden is too small. And so they went looking for a space where, quote, he could live without his mask on. He wanted a backyard, a front yard, a kitchen, separate, offices where they could do their work. And so this article talks about their real estate agent found them a place just outside San Francisco. So you're trading a little bit of that convenience for more space, but that's kind of the decision they made. And these are some of the, in the article highlights what people are wanting. 21% say they want more outdoor recreational space. 7% said they want a place, where children could work, learn from home. So anyway, I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. So 15 years ago, homes were big, right? And really since then, new construction, if you look at some of the home builders data, homes have been trending a little bit smaller. People are wanting quality over quantity in terms of space, right? But now you're starting to see this trend of people wanting a little bit more space, but I think it is about function. I think when we're talking with buyers, it's, obviously sellers want to be able to market these things appropriately, but when you're talking with buyers, again, buyers buy their whys, not their whats. So they might say, well, I want 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. Well, why do you want that 4th bedroom or that 3rd bedroom? You've got 1 kid, why do you need 4 bedrooms? Well, we need 2 bedrooms and 2 offices, right? So really understanding why home buyers, and I think I always try to coach agents on saying, sit down with your buyer and say, walk me through your typical day. Walk me through your typical week. What happens when you leave the house? Who wakes up when? Are y'all fighting over the bathroom? Are you falling over each other in the kitchen? Where do you eat dinner? Do you like to eat outside? Do you like to eat inside? Really understand kind of how they live now and how they're wanting to live and what, where their pain points are, so that you can solve that without just asking them to fill out a list of, check 3 bedrooms, this, that, right? So
in some of these national articles from Wall Street Journal and New York Times, they are focused a lot of times, like living in the middle of San Francisco is very different than living in 12 South or Hillsborough Village. It's much more dense in some of these areas, and so that may feel more like the suburbs if you've been living in downtown Manhattan. So Nashville also just reported that sales rose 12% in July, year over year. So that's a big number. This is a volume of sales, so that's really good. We've seen pricing perform and behave really well throughout this downturn, but volume was down 22% in May. It was flat pretty much in June. So to see July respond like this is good. As to inventory, which is important, the figure at the end of inventory was down 22% year over year, inventory. So we had something like 11,500 homes on the market in July of 19. We now have 8,900 roughly. So that's a big, 22%. Talked about that being kind of help, even though we're in a pandemic, pricing staying strong. That's a big factor. There's just not as much on the market. Great time to list your home if you're thinking about.
And so the reasons for that, I think May, if you can look and say, all right, well, why were sales down in May? Well, what was the leading indicator, right? It was you have to get something under contract. You have to go see houses. So that was in March and April. People weren't doing that as much because they were confused and not clear on how to do it. And so that's going to affect those numbers in May. But then same with inventory. If you have this surge of home buying with low interest rates, pent up demand, there's only so many houses on the shelf, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So people cleared off all the toilet paper on the shelf, and they cleared off a lot of the houses on the shelf too. So that's good.
Cool. All right. So we tried to find an equally good or bad picture of each side here. So the CARES Act, we talked about that has expired. It expired at the end of July, and Congress was working out kind of some sort of extension. And the backstory is Democrats wanted about $3.4 trillion of an aid package. Republicans wanted a little over $1 trillion, and they couldn't get any sort of compromise done. And so on Saturday, President Trump fired off a series of measures to juice the economy, which is interesting because normally you have to go through Congress, but he kind of found, I guess, a workaround. And so what his executive order includes is $300 a week of unemployment benefits drawn from the federal government's disaster relief fund, plus another $100 to be provided by the state. That replaces that $400, I guess, almost replaces the $600 extra that was in the CARES Act. So that's part of it. He extended, or he's going to defer payroll tax on employees making less than $100,000 a year, and that's a way to get some benefit to folks, I believe, but also encourage them to actually go back to work instead of just sitting at home drawing unemployment. And then also he's going to extend the moratorium in some cases on evictions and foreclosures and push off some student loan payments. So basically, Congress couldn't get a deal done, and so he stepped in. You're not going to believe it. Democrats did not like this move, and actually, a lot of Republicans didn't like. Felt like it was overstepping kind of what the Constitution allows. But I think as we head towards election season, I think there's some pressure to just be aware how the economy's health and your average voter is doing. How that's going to do is going to play into what happens in November. So
That's interesting.
Couple things just to finish up with. Lee Beeman and Beeman Automotive, been around since 1945, announced they were going to sell. And so just highlight this. If you've been around Nashville a long time, the Beeman name is, they had a Beeman Bottling is like a long time. They have these car dealerships. It's kind of a prominent Nashville family.
What is bottling?
Bottling?
Oh, bottling.
Bottling,
like bobbling, like bobbleheads.
Now I think they had a bottling business. Is that right? Is that right, David? Yeah. Pepsi. Over off of, I think it was off of Thompson Lane over here. But they have this, obviously these car dealerships right downtown And the real reason it's important for us is the real estate side. But I thought in the press release, Beeman said, he said he's kind of a controversial guy. I'll just leave it at that. But he said, getting some laughs. He said, I began my career with Beeman Automotive in 1971, washing cars in the back lot, you know. And so I thought that was funny. Like, his dad owned the company, you know. It's not like he like worked his way off his bootstraps, you know, and like worked his way to the top. So it's just fine. There's plenty of good, you know, second generation business leaders that do well. But I just, you know, feel like you got to own it, you know. Don't act like you. I was. As an aside, I was meeting with a few years ago. There's this old kind of grocery store company I was meeting with. Kind of the head of it now runs some real estate, and he made a point of talking about like I asked him like, how did you get started? How did you get here? Because his name doesn't match up with any of the the name of the grocery or anything like that. He's just leads it, and so. And he said something, well, I started, you know, in the stock boy in the back, and I was like, wow. And I went out at me, I was talking to somebody else, like, you know, this guy was meeting with him, and you know, he started, worked his way from the stock boy all the way now. He's running the whole real estate side of the business, and this guy's like, he married the founder's daughter. That's how he's running the business, you know. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Anyway.
Sometimes there's another side of the story.
Yeah, so why this is important to us is look at the real estate this kind of could potentially free up, because while we don't know the terms of the Beeman deal, it's not thought that it includes the real estate. It's just like the car dealership and the parts part. And so in this very professionally drawn map, you've got Jim Reed in the green. Now Jim Reed it's currently under contract from a big developer called Hines out of Houston, I believe. But they're under contract for about $100 million on 11 acres there, and it's another old school car dealership. So if you're driving through this area, you've got Jim Reed you're going into downtown, Jim Reed on your left, and Beeman on your right. And then Broad West kind of right tucked in behind it. So I really think you could see a transformation of what was historically kind of no man's land as you head into downtown. Into, I mean, Hines does some beautiful developments. They did the whole, that corner, Vanderbilt tapped them to develop that corner there where like PF Chang's is, and up against the football stadium and that Marriott. And so they're known to do really pretty nice developments. They're doing some stuff in Wedgwood, Houston. At least they're under contract on it. So I thought that was interesting this week's news. And then I guess
so Beeman's, but there was, when I read the article, it wasn't clear if Beeman, because he was selling to another automotive company. So in theory that will stay.
Well, we don't know like how long. Maybe it's a lease, but my understanding is it's the real estate's not included in the purchase.
Got it.
So
that makes sense.
This week, the other big news, you know, Biden is going to pick his VP candidate, or VP running mate. So, any thoughts on that, Zach?
You know, I have not really been paying attention to the presidential.
It's about time to
race.
tune in.
I need to.
About time.
I need to. I feel like there's been so much else going on that haven't gotten into that.
The odds are coming down to Kamala Harris. She's kind of leading most, but there's been a late charge from Susan Rice. So I think one of those two is probably going to be who
you think it's for sure going to be a female?
He's announced that it's for sure going to be a female.
Right.
And so you can go on OddsShark and see who the favorites are. But
OddsShark?
OddsShark, yeah, I think that's it. OddsShark.com. That's where I go for my political prognostication.
That's great. Well, speaking of the odds of getting a low interest rate are really, really good right now. So 30-year fixed rate loans still at 2.5%, which is incredible. No change from last week. The 15-year dropped again from 2.25% down to 2.125%, and the ARM is the same at 2.5%. So just insanely. I don't know a time ever in my lifetime of when interest rates have been this low. And again, that's like free money for your buyers. So if you're not posting about this on social media, if you are not talking to people about this, please educate the public about the opportunities, whether it's a refinance, whether it's a new purchase. Your money goes so much further when interest rates are like.
I'd say also use it as an opportunity for people that aren't moving or you're not working with, but use it as a chance to just talk about, add value. Tell them, have you thought about refinancing? I've got, Connie's here. She'd love to, but get in the middle of that transaction and add value to clients, even if they're not buying and selling, and even if it's not going to immediately benefit you. I think you'll be a valued partner and will be thought of the next time.
Absolutely. Our goal is to be value in between the transactions and not just during the transactions. So, all right, some tools. So, 4 disciplines of execution. We're going to launch. So we had a big set of groups doing this over the last several months. They finished up about 2 months ago. Obviously, the pandemic hit right in between.
So what is, for someone who's new, what's the 4 disciplines of execution?
So 40X is, so it's 4 disciplines. So I've got a video. Probably going to hold off on the video because...
But it's out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, so it's kind of backed by...
Yeah, so it's a Franklin Covey program. So the 4 disciplines, there are 4 of them, right? It's a good name. So the first one is define a goal, right? They call it a WIG, a wildly important goal. The second one is define your lead measures. So your lead measures, effectively your goal is a lag measure, right? I want to sell 10 houses by the end of this year.
That's a lag measure.
That's a lag measure. That's your goal, right? So
once you have made it or not, it's already the
behavior
that led to it is passed.
The behaviors that led to it are already done, right? So you can't just say, I want to become president. You have to go campaign, right? So you got to do those activities. Same thing with real estate, right? We can't just say I want to sell 10 houses or 2 houses or 1 house, whatever it is. You got to use leading indicators, and so those lead measures are things that you can do, and there's a zillion things that you can do, right? So you can meet with people, you can talk to people, you can check in with people, you can post things on social media, you can send out postcards to people you know or to people you don't know, you can buy internet leads, you can make billboards all over the world. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat and to be successful in this business. The problem with most real estate agents is there are so many good ideas and good options that we end up trying to do a little bit of everything and end up being a master at none of them. So the whole concept behind this is to sort of like your Warren Buffett list, right? Take all your goals, circle your top 2 or 3, and then throw the rest away. It's like, throw them away? Same thing with lead measures, right? You want to pick 2 or 3 that you can do consistently each week. And so you might say, all right, I'm going to write 10 personal notes each week.
And I'm going to go to lunch with 2 people a week.
2 people each week.
Right? And I'm going to call 5 new people that I've never...
Now stop, right?
So
now
those are my 3.
Right? Because what happens is you do that for a week or 2 weeks, and then you do a little bit of something else and a little bit of something else, and there's no consistency behind it. Without consistency, it's hard to be successful. It's really hard to grow. And this is a really great program for people who've kind of been sitting at a production level for a little bit, and then they want to just take it to the next level. There's a lot of magic in this. And the third discipline is to create a scoreboard, right? So, if you're at a sporting event, you like to know the score. It's fun to watch a basketball game, go back and forth and see who's in the lead. And so that's why, if you gamify it, if you make a scoreboard. And then the 4th discipline is to have a weekly meeting. It's an accountability meeting where you say what you're going to do, what you did, and share your results with everybody. But again, you're focusing on those lead measures and those activities that ultimately drive the success. And if you do the activities, the results are going to take care of themselves. So that is. So I'll send out that video. But a few testimonials we've got. So Jennifer Ray is in Franklin. She sent this. She said, 40X is an amazing program. Thank you for including me in the program and giving me the opportunity. It's been great to work with so many wonderful agents at Village, as well as broker Angela Garner, a true gem. Good job, Angela. If you're looking for a program to help with accountability, this is the one. It's so helpful. If you're a new agent or a seasoned agent, everyone benefits from the program. I love being able to bounce ideas off each other and hear stories and experiences from other agents on a weekly basis. It really helped me grow and become great friends too with my peers. So that was awesome. And we got a couple of other, Chris, you want to come up, you want to sit in Hunter's spot? You want to say something?
Sure.
Chris probably doesn't.
Did you get a heads up that I was calling you? Yeah. Good job. So Chris skated to the program as well, and you had some pretty good results. So what was that like?
Well, it's just good because you can set goals, but and it's nice to like sort of write those goals out, but then sort of creating a framework for accomplishing them. And just like you said, having the accountability is huge. A lot of times it would be like, oh shoot, I haven't done this yet, and so it might even be like the morning before, but you're still getting it done, and otherwise I wouldn't have done it at all, most likely, and not consistently. And then also, same as a solo agent, it's great meeting with a group every week and being able to talk about either why the things that you were trying to do were so difficult, how much you hated doing the things that you were trying to do every week, and then also just being able to ask questions, because obviously there's varying levels of experience within the group, and I think that was almost just as beneficial as coming up with the framework for trying to achieve your goals set in the group. And that was probably the most valuable part, was just the consistent meeting every week, knowing that, you know, the shame and the regret of not doing it to your group, keeping you accountable.
The goal is to shame you. It's really
exactly. That was huge. I think that was probably the most valuable part, was the accountability of knowing that every Thursday, oh yeah, shoot, have I done all the things that I said I was going to do? And then also by doing that, like setting a big goal, and you kind of know, you don't really know actually if you're going to be able to do it, but by doing those things and going through it and being consistent, seeing you stay on track for those goals was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know, I just looked at your production. Your sales in units year to date from this year to year to date of last year is up 350%.
Yeah.
And then your volume is up 41%. Jennifer was up 250% in units and 151% in volume. So this stuff works. It's helpful.
Very much so.
And then Devin, you got anything to say? Devin, I had your numbers on here too, but I think they're at the bottom of the page. So, but they looked good.
I hope so. Okay. I want basically to say the same thing as Chris. Like, it really made a huge difference having the accountability, doing something every single week that you're consistent doing, and knowing that if you didn't get that done, you had somebody holding you accountable. And
Your peers, really.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Which I think that makes it more effective, really, than somebody. I think we're all in the real estate business because we don't like to have bosses, right?
Right.
So having somebody that is, a sort of leader saying, you didn't do this, it's really your peers saying, what happened? Like, I've noticed you kind of are in the red for the last 3 weeks. You doing all right?
Right, exactly. And also, like, the format that you put together for it, I think is super helpful to be able to, like, keep track of everything that you're doing. And because so often I feel like we go into, we're doing a lot of stuff all the time. And but we don't know what we're doing at the same time. So
it feels good just moving around.
Yeah, so basically being able to really keep track of what you're doing every single week and getting that stuff done. And then also, like, the format to be able to, like, track, well, this is what I've have under contract right now, and okay, I'm scheduled, like, right now I'm about to meet my goal of this in production or whatever it is. And so, like, that for me was super helpful as well.
So do you remember what your lead measures were during that?
Let's see, I did note cards.
Yeah.
I was doing like 10 note cards a week, I think. It was 5 or 10, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, what else? Networking, that was like my big thing in the very beginning, but then I kind of had to switch.
Shift it, yeah.
Yeah, to shift because of
COVID threw a wrench into a lot of lead measures. A lot of face-to-face stuff that had to kind of switch up to.
I started doing like online coffee dates, basically.
That's pretty cool, though. How adaptable. Like, it really forced a lot of these groups to adapt and to figure out, like, all right, I was supposed to have lunch with 3 people a week. How do I do that, right? So
what do you do?
Transition it to Zoom, change it. So, so thank you for being a part of it, and thank you all for giving a testimony. We had a really good group of people involved in this, and it was a good kind of case study and test study that we did. And we've honed this in. So we're going to start up new groups.
The cool thing about these weekly meetings, though, they're like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's doesn't take up your whole morning. It's just a check-in. And so even though you may be really busy, you can still have these efficient little.
And what we found is what makes a huge difference is showing up, right? Obviously doing the work beforehand, but showing up to the meeting. So I'm going to send out an email later today with a form, It's kind of like an application process, but basically we want to know a little bit about kind of what you hope to get out of it, and then we're going to start creating some groups. It's really important that the groups don't get too big or too small, and it's really important that people are committed, 100% committed to being a part of it. So
like 7 to 10 is like the ideal size, right?
yeah, probably I'd say like 6 to 8, probably no more than 8.
6 to 8.
For where we are. So anyway, so stay tuned for that. If you're interested in being a part of it, we're going to start that in a couple of weeks, and probably what is today, the 11th. So I think in probably 2 weeks we're going to start it. I think we'll do an intro session once we get everybody who's interested. We'll put the groups together, and then we'll start it in 2 weeks.
September 1. Let's do it.
Bingo.
Will those meet by Zoom?
We're going to meet by Zoom. That's right. So it'll be good. Boost. So Boost is something that the beauty of this is that it happens in the background. The downside of it happening in the background is sometimes people forget about it. So, so Boost is a program by HomeSpotter, which is a company that we've hired to basically advertise all village listings, anything over $195,000 or more, on social media. And so it goes through and advertises those on, you can see some examples here, on Facebook, Instagram, and then just through display ads. Like if you're on a news site, you see some display ads on the
Look
left.
at David, speaking of an old picture there.
Yeah, David, looks like time for a new headshot, buddy. So what's cool is in the year or so that we've been doing this, we've had over 2,000 campaigns run. That has generated 236,000 clicks and almost 5.5 million views of village listings just on these social media and web platforms. What it also did, and I didn't pull this up because I couldn't get a number from the whole time, but it has generated tens of thousands of internet leads. So if you have a listing, you're going to get anywhere from, like David's listing, for instance, if you see where it says 18 engaged, so he's received 18 emails from people who've clicked on that on a social media page, and it'll give him a little teaser and say, hey, do you want to see more about this? And it'll say, if you want to, if you're on Facebook, it'll say, just continue with Facebook. When they click that button, it sends David an email with their contact info, and then he can follow up and say, hey, thanks for you're interested in Ashwood. And it's hard to track sales directly from this, but I've talked to, just anecdotally, we've had a handful of sales directly from this. So it works. The key is because it runs in the background and happens automatically, if you have a listing, make sure when you put that listing in the MLS, within a few hours, you're going to get an email from Boost. Please make sure you're clicking that email and entering your seller's contact information.
Now you don't have to do that. Like it'll still run. You'll still get the benefit of the ads. We're still paying for it. It's still working. But if you do this extra step, then your client will next time they log in to Facebook or Instagram, they're likely to see that ad and know that, wow, my agent's working on my behalf to sell my house, and make sure you're using this in your listing presentations because it's most agents don't have access to this.
Yeah.
We're paying a lot of money for it. You're paying a lot of money for it in the background. Basically, it's kind of what your monthly fees goes towards. So make sure you're taking full advantage of it. And if you're not following up with the leads, it's a great chance to send those to someone else and say, hey, give me a referral if it turns into something.
Yep.
Share the leads.
Indeed. So the web address is boost-villagetn.homespotter.com. So that's how to access the dashboard. You can log in. If you forgot your password, because you don't have one password or whatever, you can just click, forgot my password and get that resent to you. So please log into that. Also, another tool that we've been working on, and I'm going to send out a request for anybody so obviously we've got Dotted and Cross. So they're up and running. They've been doing a great job to kind of take the load from Village Assist. And Dotted and Cross is our...
That's just for pure contract to close. I want kind of that virtual assistant to get me through the closing table. I'm willing to pay. We get a discount, but it's $3.75, something like that. So I'm willing to pay that per transaction.
Yep.
That's Dotted and Crossed.
Dotted and Crossed. And so Trello, so if you are a person, I think sometimes we can be a little bit scattered.
Speak for yourself, Zach.
Hey, Hunter's not scattered at all. But there's, the consistency is important, right? Why do you recommend a restaurant? You probably don't recommend the restaurant with the best food. You recommend the restaurant to your friends from out of town that has the most consistency. Because you don't want to recommend them something they're going to have a bad experience in. So consistency is important. You can be consistent by having processes and checklists and things like that. So what Trello is, if you've never used Trello, it's a well, I don't even know how to describe
It's
it.
like a
but
task
it's
management
It's a task management
system.
platform. And so what we've done is we've created a Village version for any agents that want to use this. We're going to roll it out as just a beta test right now because we've got it pretty dialed in, but we want to make sure that before we roll it out completely. So if you're interested in just doing some DIY stuff for yourself and you're not quite at the place where you need contract to close, this is a really cool platform. It basically, from left to right, you can add what are called cards. So if you see that house where I've got 123 Main Street, Sam and Julie Seller, that's a pending sale. Once it's pending, you just drag and drop it over to the close file. But as you go through, you can basically, there's pre-formatted checklists, so you can add a checklist to each transaction. So, this is I can't remember which checklist this was, but ensure all docs are signed and fully executed, send electronic copies to the seller, co-op agent, add all applicable dates to calendars. This is a really good tool if you're trying to hire an assistant as well, and you want to be able to share something with them that you can both log into and see, and then also and just check progress.
Just make sure you're not forgetting something.
Yeah, just to make sure you're not forgetting something. You spend so much effort just, I think, wondering, did that get done? Did that get done? And you could spend that energy doing 40X or writing notes or having Zoom meetings with people. So if you're interested in doing that, let me know. Shoot me an email. Again, I'll send something out with a follow-up just asking if you're interested in being a beta tester of that. And then we'll, obviously as a beta tester, I want to make sure you use it and give feedback, and then we can roll it out to everybody here soon.
Cool.
So that's it. So coming soons, enter your coming soons, comingsoon.villagetn.com, and then one coming soon, Sales Gallery at Broadwest is now open. It looks phenomenal. There's 2 full kitchens, a bathroom. I sent a video out a week or 2 ago about that. So if you've got any clients interested in that,
It's a cool location.
Bring them to take a look.
Transformative area.
transformative area. That's right. So takeaways. What a good meeting. This was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've got Teddy's got a class that's starting in 15 minutes. So Zoom link is on the Village calendar, shared calendar for that. Also on Facebook, Village exclusive page on Facebook. So thanks y'all for tuning in and enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank everyone for being here. Certainly more fun when there's more people.